The undertaker's basement reeks of lie and rot. Sarah Crane stands over the pine coffin, lamplight carving shadows across her hollow cheeks. Her calico dress hangs loose. Widowhood has stolen her appetite along with everything else. The marshal waits by the stairs, his hand resting on his gun belt. "Just confirm it's him, Mrs. Crane, then you can go." She stares at the rough wood. Inside lies the body of James Cartwright, outlaw. The man who killed her husband 2 winters past. The man the town spent 6 months hunting through the canyon country. The man they hanged at dawn. Her fingers tremble on the coffin lid. The marshal doesn't know what she knows, that James Cartwright rode with her brother before the war, that she's seen his face in campfire light, laughing at something her brother said, that she'd recognize him anywhere. If she lies, they'll keep hunting. If she tells the truth, an innocent man walks free. "Mrs. Crane?" She lifts the lid. The corpse's face is swollen, purple. The rope left its signature across the throat. But the nose is wrong. The ears sit different. And there, a scar through the left eyebrow that James never had. "It's him," she whispers. The marshal exhales. "Thank you, ma'am. Justice is done." She nods, cannot speak. The lie glints like copper. Outside, November wind cuts through the street. Sarah walks toward the boarding house, where she rents a room and takes in mending. Her breath makes ghosts in the air. Behind the livery stable, someone coughs. She stops. "They'll execute you if I don't identify your body." Her voice barely carries. "I just did." Silence, then footsteps in gravel. James Cartwright emerges from shadow. He's thinner than she remembers, his face hard-carved by months in the wilderness. His left arm hangs stiff, an old wound poorly healed. His eyes are the same, though, careful, watching. Why? His voice sounds like stones grinding. She looks at the empty street, at the boarding house where she lives on pity and charity, at the church where they buried her husband under a marker she can't afford to replace. "My brother loved you like kin." She turns to face him. "He died believing you were better than what they say." James studies her. Snow begins to fall, small and sparse. "I didn't kill your husband." "I know." He blinks. "How?" "Thomas was shot in the back. You shoot men in the front, or not at all." She pulls her shawl tighter. "My brother told me that much." The snow falls harder now. James sways slightly, wounded or starved or both. "You should go," Sarah says. "They think you're dead. Stay that way." But he doesn't move. He stares at her with something that might be recognition, or might be fever. "You're Sarah," he says finally. "Danny's sister. He showed me your daguerreotype once." She nods. "You were smiling in it." "That was before." The wind shifts. Somewhere a dog barks. James takes one step toward her, then stops. "I got nowhere to go," he says. Sarah's cabin sits 3 miles from town, tucked in a cottonwood hollow where the creek bends. Her husband built it before the consumption took him. She's lived here alone for 22 months. She leads James through the door just before dawn. Inside, everything is spare and clean. An iron stove, a table with one chair, a bed in the corner, neatly made. James stands in the center, dripping snowmelt, looking lost. "There's a root cellar," Sarah says. "You'll stay there." She lifts the trap door. Below, darkness and earth smell. A dirt floor, stone walls, shelves holding preserved vegetables. Enough space for a man to lie down. James descends without argument. "I'll bring food," she says, and closes the door. For 3 days, she tends him in silence. She brings corn mush and weak coffee, changes the bandage on his arm where infection has taken root. He watches her with those careful eyes, but asks for nothing. On the 4th day, fever breaks him. She climbs down to find him shaking, delirious. His shirt is soaked through. He mutters names she doesn't know. Sarah boils water, tears one of her petticoats for clean cloth. She washes the wound, a bullet still lodged in the muscle, the flesh angry and hot. She has no whiskey, no laudanum, only yarrow from her garden and prayers her mother taught her. "This will hurt," she says. His eyes focus briefly. He nods. She digs the bullet out with her husband's knife, sterilized in flame. James makes no sound, but his hand grips the dirt floor hard enough to leave marks. When it's done, she packs the wound with yarrow paste and wraps it tight. He passes out. Sarah sits beside him in the dark, listening to his ragged breathing. Above, through the floorboards, mice skitter. Wind rattles the windows. "Danny talked about you," she says to his unconscious form. "Said you were the only man in the company worth a damn. Said you carried wounded back when everyone else ran." She touches the edge of his bandage. "Said you sang hymns your mother taught you." The lamplight flickers. "I don't know if you killed anyone who didn't deserve it. I don't know if you're good or bad or somewhere between." She pulls her shawl close. "But Danny loved you, and I got nothing else of his left except that." In the morning, James wakes clear-eyed. "Thank you," he says. Sarah brings him eggs fried in bacon grease. Real food. He eats slowly, like a man remembering how. "Your arm needs rest," she tells him. 2 weeks, maybe 3. "I can't." "You can. Nobody comes here. Nobody cares what a widow does alone." James sets down the plate. "Why are you doing this?" She considers the question. Outside, crows call to each other. The creek runs loud with snow melt. "Because somebody should have helped me," she says finally. "When Thomas died and the creditors came, when his family blamed me for not saving him from sickness I couldn't cure." She meets his eyes. "Nobody did." James nods slowly. "I'll work," he says. "Whatever you need. I'll earn my keep." "You're injured." One arm still works. She studies him. His jaw is set, his pride visible even in weakness. "The woodshed needs repair," she says. "Roof's half collapsed. I'll fix it." And he does. Winter deepens. James moves from the cellar to the woodshed once he patches the roof and builds a crude bunk. Sarah doesn't invite him inside, and he doesn't ask. But she sees him working. He splits firewood with his good arm, stacks it neat against the cabin wall. He mends the fence where deer have pushed through. He digs a new channel for the creek so spring floods won't reach her foundation. The work is slow, careful. He favors his healing arm, but doesn't quit. Sarah watches from the window while she sews. She tells herself she's making sure he doesn't collapse. That's all. One afternoon, she brings coffee to where he's replacing rotted fence posts. "You don't have to do all this," she says. James wipes sweat despite the cold. "Yes, I do." She hands him the cup. Their fingers don't touch. "Your arm's healing clean. You did good work." They stand in silence. A hawk circles overhead, hunting. James sips the coffee, his eyes on the horizon like he's watching for something. "They really think you're dead?" Sarah asks. "They buried somebody. That's enough for most people. But not for you." He looks at her then. "I don't know how to be dead." Sarah understands this. She's been trying herself. That night, snow falls heavy. Sarah lies awake, listening to wind batter the cabin. She thinks of James in the woodshed with only a wool blanket and wonders if he's cold. She tells herself it's not her concern. At midnight, she lights a lamp and carries it outside. The woodshed door is closed, but not latched. She pushes it open. James sits on his bunk, awake, his breath frosting in lamplight. "You'll freeze," she says. "I'm fine." "You're not. Come inside." He hesitates. People see smoke from both buildings. "There's no people. There's just me and you and winter." James follows her to the cabin. Inside, she points to the floor by the stove. "You sleep there." He nods, spreads his blanket without argument. Sarah returns to her bed in the corner, turns her face to the wall. But she doesn't sleep. In the morning, she wakes to the smell of coffee. James stands at the stove, heating water in her kettle. He's folded his blanket precisely, swept the floor. When he sees her watching, he pours 2 cups. "Seemed fair," he says. They drink in silence. Outside, the world is white and still. This becomes their pattern. James sleeps by the stove. Sarah wakes to coffee already made. They speak little, but the silence feels less empty. One evening, she asks about Danny. James stares into the fire. "He was the best of us. Kept us human when the war made us animals." His voice roughens. "He talked about you constant. Said when it was over, he'd bring me home to meet his sister. Said you made apple pie that could make a man weep." Sarah's throat tightens. "I haven't made pie in 2 years. Why not? What's the point of making something good when there's nobody to share it with?" James looks at her across the small room. "I'm here." The words hang between them. Sunday, Sarah bakes pie with the last of her preserved apples. The cabin fills with cinnamon and memory. When it's done, she cuts 2 pieces. They eat at the table, James in the single chair, Sarah standing. The pie lands like before, like when there was someone to make things for. "Danny was right," James says quietly. About the pie, Sarah feels something crack inside her chest. Not breaking, opening. "He was right about you, too," she whispers. Outside, the snow begins to melt. Winter's back is breaking. And inside the cabin, two people sit in lamplight, learning how to be something other than alone. Spring comes late and hard. Sarah plants her garden in March mud: beans, squash, potatoes. James works beside her, his healed arm strong again. They move in rhythm now, no longer strangers. "What will you do?" she asks one morning, "when the ground dries enough to travel?" James pushes a seed into earth. "Don't know. Keep moving, I suppose." Sarah nods, pretends her chest doesn't tighten. That afternoon, the minister's wife comes visiting. Sarah sees the buggy approaching, and her heart stops. James is at the creek, washing, visible from the road if someone looks. "Stay inside," she tells him quickly. "Don't make a sound." He disappears into the cabin. Mrs. Henderson climbs down, carrying a basket. Her eyes sweep the property, the repaired fence, the stacked firewood, the fresh-turned garden. "My, you've been industrious," she says, suspicion coating each word. "Keeping busy helps," Sarah replies. Indeed, though one wonders how a woman alone manages such heavy labor. Mrs. Henderson's gaze lingers on the woodshed. Unless she's not quite alone? Sarah's mouth goes dry. "I hired a drifter for a few days. He's moved on." Several people mention seeing smoke from your property at odd hours. "Two sources," they said. "One stove can make a lot of smoke." Mrs. Henderson sets down her basket. "Sarah, dear, if you're sheltering some vagrant, it reflects poorly. On you, on Thomas's memory, people talk. Let them." The older woman's expression hardens. "The town's been kind to you. Don't make us regret our charity." After she leaves, James emerges. "I'll go tonight," he says. "No." "Sarah, I said no." Her voice shakes. "I'm tired of people telling me how to live, how to mourn, who I can help, and who I can't." She faces him. "You stay until you're ready to leave. Not because some bitter woman thinks she owns my grief." James stares at her. "They'll make your life hell. They already have." Sunday. Sarah walks to church. She sits in her usual pew, feels every eye on her back. After service, women cluster by the door, whispering. Men look away when she passes. Only the blacksmith nods, a small gesture, but something. At home, James has coffee, waiting. "How bad?" he asks. "Bad enough." He sets his cup down carefully. "I should go." "You keep saying that." "Because it's true. You're risking everything." "For what?" Sarah's voice rises. "A house nobody visits? A town that tolerates me out of duty? I'm already alone, James. You leaving doesn't change that." "Then what do you want?" The question hangs between them. Sarah looks at this man who's lived in her home for 4 months, who's mended her fences and split her wood and drunk coffee at her table, who's made the silence bearable. "I want you to stay," she whispers. "If you want to." James crosses the small room. He stops close enough that she can see the scar through his eyebrow, the gray threading his temples, the uncertainty in his eyes. "I'm not good at staying," he says quietly. "Don't know how?" "Neither do I. Not anymore." His hand lifts, hesitates, then touches her cheek. The gesture is careful, asking permission. Sarah leans into his palm. "We could learn," James says. "Together." She nods. That evening, they sit on the porch, watching swallows return to their nests. James holds her hand, rough palms, scarred knuckles, real and warm. "I'll build a proper edition," he says. "Make this look less like a woman alone and more like a homestead. People will still talk. Let them. We'll give them something true to talk about, instead of lies." Summer arrives. James builds the addition, a workroom where Sarah can take in more sewing, where he can work leather. The garden flourishes. Neighbors stop whispering, or Sarah stops caring which. One August evening, James plants an apple tree beside the house. "For pie," he says. Sarah watches the sapling take root in good earth. It will be years before it bears fruit. Years of staying, tending, waiting. Years together. She takes his hand. "It'll need a lot of care. Good thing we're both here then." The sun sets over the cottonwood hollow. Inside the cabin, lamplight glows warm. And two people who learned to survive alone discover something harder and better. Learning to build a life together, one careful day at a time. Home isn't something you find. It's something you make with scarred hands and patient hearts, with seeds planted in faith that spring always comes again.